Welcome to Mobile Armor Radio, the podcast for all things mecha. Jumpship incoming.
Welcome to Mobile Armor Radio, episode 41. This is, November now. Time's flying. Mm-hmm. My name's Rob.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Chopper.
Chopper forgot the order. It's alphabetical order.
I always do.
We've got a jam-packed show. I'm sure we have all done many things that we're working on and have many things we've watched and talked about.
Oh,
I'm sure it'll be wonderful.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So we'll get into it after these messages. No, wait. After this break.
Dropship landing.
Well, this is the Dropship. What we're working on. I'm going to go to you, Pat, first because I want to get it out of the way. Pat, what have you been working on?
Not a whole lot, but I have been working on stuff. I've been still plugging away on my Neo Zhang. It's nice. Just a lot of parts, and I'm making it difficult by airbrushing all the parts so I can get my candy apple red all over it.
Yeah, didn't you say you regretted choosing that color?
I didn't say regret it. I just said there was a moment of regret when I went through like half a bottle of chrome on 4 pieces. Because these pieces are so big.
You can buy chrome spray paint.
I know, but it's better with the airbrush. It really just is. It just coats better, and it doesn't pool like when you do a rattle can. So I'm just gonna continue to be the martyr and just continue to just flog me as I talk about it. But I'm making strides now because I got most of the upper torso done. I'm working on the shoulders now, so
the legs are gonna be the hardest part.
Yeah, I think. So I'm making progress. It's going to start to look good. Once I get these next big pieces put on, I'll post some more progress pictures of that. What else did I work on? I finished working on the rest of my, I don't know what to call them, minions for Monster Apocalypse for my Ultraman robot guy. So I finished fixing up the shin bots, and those are all painted up. And I'm just filling up the flyers and the gate stuff. So it's like only 8 more models left, and I should be done with that Monster Apocalypse deal.
Just in time for the new Kickstarter?
Ugh, I don't know. I'm not back at the Kickstarter because I got the game ready. I'll just buy figs from it.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
What else did I work on? I don't think I worked on much after that.
No.
I got a sporadic, I multitask when I'm hobbying because as I'm waiting for things to dry. Oh, finishing up the Cav terrain little pieces. I'm getting a nice little shoebox full of scattered terrain for Cav, or basically for any mech game we can use them for.
Yeah. What kind of terrain?
Right now they're busted tanks, busted mechs. There's some sandbag guns or gun emplacement, sandbags, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there little like gas tanks kind of? Something like that?
I'm sure there are. I haven't got to those yet. I still got 3/4 of a bag to get through.
Oh.
3/4 of a gallon bag. I think it's a gallon sized bag.
It was big, yeah.
That's a big bag.
It was a lot of terrain for sure.
So I'm still plugging away through that. And I think that is it. Just the Neo Zhang. I'm really trying to make a conscious effort to get that thing done.
Gonna keep working on it. Plugging away.
Yeah.
Do it, Pat.
Unfortunately, next week is going to be a bad week because I won't have any time next week. But
plus, as it gets cold in your basement, you go down there a lot less.
Actually, I go down there less in the summertime, I think. I think we hobby more in the wintertime because we don't go anywhere.
Yeah, but you always like, it's too cold down there. Let's play video games instead. That was my impression of Pat.
Well, we've been doing pretty good. So
I couldn't tell which one of you was talking.
It was so pitch perfect, wasn't
it? But we haven't had a real good hobby day with a lot of people in a long time. So maybe we should try and bring that back. Not that Brian has ever come to any one of our hobby hangouts.
He's a busy boy.
It's a struggle. I mean, I went on with one with Coach once.
Oh, that's why he never came back.
And it was in my old apartment, so this would have been like 2 years ago.
Well, to be fair,
it was like my camera was across the room.
Yeah, well, we haven't done it in a long time, so
right.
We should do it.
Get the gang back together to do some hanging. Yep, we'll see how it goes.
All right, that's all I got.
Brian, what have you been up to?
Well, after the Michigan GT tourney, which I'll talk to later in the ComStar section, after I'd gotten all the work done for that, which was a lot more of fantasy stuff, I've decided to I put together a list of all these other projects that I want to do, many of which are Deadzone related. For one reason or another. But the first one that I'm just kind of starting with is I started doing a lot more 3D printing of using the isolation protocols. And my plan is, so Deadzone takes place on an 8x8 grid and then can go up vertically. And so my plan is stealing a little bit from a Dreadball pitch in the Magnetar circuit, where the Dreadball match takes place basically floating up in the sky, and people can get knocked off and die. So I'm translating that into a Deadzone board. So I'm basically going to be elevating up the first floor, and so that everything is going to be taking place like one level off the ground on platforms and stuff like that. Like it's some kind of elevated station or like like an oil rig or something like that. And so it's kind of an ambitious project in that it was kind of doing the math on exactly how many things I'm going to need to 3D print for that. Mm-hmm. And but I'm starting with the corner pieces. I've got the little sliced up tool where I can do 4 at once. So that's pretty handy. Basically, I do one and I have a whole square's worth ready to go, as opposed to one at a time. Because doing the math, I'd be looking at about, if I wanted one for each vertice, that'd be like 81 of these things. Not planning to do that many, but have enough to do a first floor and then some stuff on a second floor. So it's a fairly big project, but I'm having fun kind of getting pieces built and put together, and so I'm gonna have a good time with it. But that's been the majority of the kind of mecha combat related stuff that I've been working on. How about you, Rob?
I've actually been quite busy. I finally built my round facer, which is the Unseen Griffin that I bought at Rhino's Hobby. I built that up. He's cool. He's on my shelf now. Yeah, it was a fun model. It's an older model, but it worked out. Everything worked on him. He's pretty cool looking. I also got I printed up the Rebel Minis 15mm Viper. It was a little mech that they did a Kickstarter for. That's a listener of the show, John Barros's company, and nice. It's a neat looking. It's amazing how many different variety of weapons and cargo and other things. It even has like ammo crates and stuff where the guy's loading it, and it's a lot of cool stuff. So I did that one, and that I just did some quick paint on that just to have a proof of concept kind of. And then I painted up my Ghost Bear elementals from the Clan Kickstarter finally. So I have a whole what are they called? Star of elementals. And I'm really proud of the little jet packs on their backs. I made it looks like there's fire shooting out of them. I think they turned out pretty cool. And once I spray them up, I'll post it on the Facebook page as usual. Other than that, I think that's all I've been doing recently, mech related.
That round facer, that's the one you got at the Gunpla store down over by me, right?
Yeah, Rhino's Hobbies. That's what I mentioned. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't listen to when I talk to you, Pat.
I didn't hear you say it.
I did. And so I finally put him together. It was good. Gave me something to do. I have no backlog in models. I'm very proud of that.
You come to my house.
Yeah. You're the opposite. You have all backlog in models. But other than that, I think that's what we've been working on. We'll go on to ComStar, which we have a lot more to talk about, I'm sure.
Message from ComStar.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Rick.
From Deadzone the podcast.
And you're listening to
Mobile Armor Radio.
And welcome to ComStar. We've got lots of stuff to talk about. I'll start with just some news tidbits. Strange Machine Games is doing Kickstarter for an expansion to Robotech RPG called Homefront. So it's pretty much the second storyline from Robotech they're covering this time. And at the listening point, there's only a few days left, but I'm sure they'll have, they usually have, late backers and stuff. Link is in the show notes, but you can go check that out there. Lots of options, 2 different covers, plus a limited edition version, which is always cool. Plus, they also have a module that they're doing too, which they hope to do more of, which is kind of neat. So we got that. There's also a new game called Steel Coliseum coming from Needy Cat Games. Zatu Games is publishing it, I guess. But it used to be called Robot Combat League. I think we talked about that when they first announced it, but
yeah,
they tried to do a Kickstarter for it, or and it never funded, I think. But so now they're redoing it. Some other company bought it up, so that's kind of cool. So it's going to get a release for its robots fighting in a coliseum. So you can't go wrong with that. And the big news is Deadzone 3.0 is out. I'm sure Brian has a lot more to talk about that because he hosts a show called Deadzone the Podcast. So, so it's a lot more mechs. I can't wait to get my hands on some Asterion Spectra. I don't have any yet, so eventually. So, Brian, expand on Deadzone 3.0 and please talk about your tournament and everything.
Sure. So, Deadzone 3.0 is just coming out, like, as of this recording, like a day or so ago. But it's a fun step up in polishing of Deadzone 2nd edition. There was a lot of little things that got tweaked. It wasn't a major overhaul or anything like that. Line of sight was kind of the only thing that made the biggest change. But honestly, it's still makes for a very smooth game, and it's got even more mecha coming to it. In particular, there's a new unit called TAC drones, TAC, and so they're going to be these kind of little robot, what you call like kind of like a little spider bot that has like different weapon loadouts and things like that for heavier weapons, specifically for the kind of Starship Troopers guys of the GCPS. They got quite a few new units. And then there's the Forge Fathers, who are kind of like space dwarves. They got a whole bunch of new. They have a unit called the Artificers, basically like space dwarf like craftsmen. Yeah. And so they have like extra mechanical arms and stuff like that, and they also have another big mech on top of the one that they already have. Like Rob was talking about, the Asterions have the Spectra, which is a pretty sweet and lethal model when you face it, to be sure. And but no, it's a great time to get into Deadzone. One of the themes, kind of thematic elements of that series or world, as it were, that universe, is that for the most part in kind of 1st edition, 2nd edition, it was kind of taking all these kind of battles were taking place on the outskirts, kind of the frontier worlds, and a lot of destroyed or damaged colonies and things like that. With third edition, they're kind of making this push for more of they call it kind of an inner sphere space where it's much more, populous areas, a lot more cities and urban environments. They've added a lot of terrain pieces to really kind of accentuate like a cyberpunk kind of world, and that's one of the really fun things about the Deadzone, the Warpath universe as it's called, is that you can really find any kind of sci-fi story within it. You've got zombie mutants, you got Cthulhu like squid people, you got your hoity-toity high technology alien races with robots, and then you have the down and dirty rebel troopers fighting against the man.
Go Rebs.
and woo, go Rebs. I definitely recommend friend of the show, Tyler Schultz. I don't know if he actually listens to Mobile Arm Radio much, but he has a YouTube channel called Dreadpath Zone, and he did a really fun, getting into Deadzone 3rd Edition video that's very meme funny, and just a great little demo on what kind of happens and what you do with the game. Lots of love there. And then the community has just been exploding on Facebook with people really excited, building new teams, just chomping at the bit to get their hands on the latest edition. So then I'm sure
we're also coming back with team building exercise on Family Gamers 777.
Yeah.
So
we're excited to hear that.
Build teams and make fun of all the lists. So that's what we do there.
Oh yeah, it's a good time and a great resource for folks. I think everyone really enjoys hearing the breakdown and the strategy behind different list building, because there's a lot of options, especially now in 3rd edition. Mm-hmm. A lot of these forces really got fleshed out to give you a lot of variety in ways you can build your lists. And there's I think there's 16 different scenarios to play. So you won't be getting bored anytime soon with 3rd edition. Mm-hmm. So to kind of take that back then, so to wrap up the 2nd edition for us over in the Michigan side of things, we had a Deadzone tournament at the Michigan GT in early October, and it was a really fun time. It was 150 points, which is fairly typical for a lighter game. Usually it's kind of between 150 and 200, and I managed to squeak out my double Strider GCPS list.
I love anytime you can add 2 mechs to a list. I love it.
Anytime I can add 2 mechs, especially since they're my Gundam themed ones. And if you know anything about Deadzone and Striders and how much they cost points wise, at 150 points meant I was pretty much taking nothing else. Apart from the bare minimum cost of things to field them. Needless to say, I didn't win according to the tournament scores, but we had a lot of fun. And at that event, I met a couple other players, one of whom, at one of the Kings of War tournaments, lives 5 minutes from my house. So
yeah, there was 2 new guys, right?
Yeah. The other guy, one of his friends then lives nearby, and we're going to be getting together and play a lot more. So it's fun, having recently moved till I'm about an hour and 15 away from my old stomping grounds with a lot of my other Deadzone buddies. It's great to find some more folks closer to me that are also interested in Deadzone. So I'm going to win him over on that too. But yeah, trying to think of other things. Definitely check out Deadzone 3rd edition if you like sci-fi, if you like that skirmish level where you're only kind of bringing about 12 models aside. It's a really quick play.
28 millimeter too, we should say, because a lot of people used to
20
different scales.
28 millimeter. If you're interested in playing, it's okay to proxy some things at first, but I will say, Mantic has really been stepping up their model fidelity and quality over the years. And I think it's definitely worth checking out some of their core teams.
You're just saying that because you got a Yindish on a lion thing, so.
I mean, that's part of it. But
it's nice to get new models.
It's always nice to get new models. Mantic being a smaller shop, they don't come out as frequently, but at the same time, they really put forth that effort and make some really creative things.
This is starting to sound like a commercial now, Brian. Stop.
It is. Okay.
I will say that Mantic does not support us in any way. So.
No, Mantic does not support us. They just make games that we really love playing. Yeah. So other things, I forget if I mentioned last time, just because October has kind of been a blur. I did finish playing through Metal Gear Solid 2. I'm thinking I did mention that because I couldn't decide if I wanted to go on to Metal Gear Solid 3 or 4, and ultimately I chose neither at this point. I've got a couple other games that I'm working through, but I kind of took the opportunity to take a break from gaming on my lunch break, as it were, to catch up on some shows that I've been missing, such as I watched through the Star Wars Bad Batch season 1 there. That was a lot of fun. I was always kind of a little cool on the Bad Batch when they first showed up in that final season of Star Wars, Clone Wars. In that, I was definitely more interested in the characters that we've really come to follow and want to see where that story goes. But they kind of grew on you over the course of that show, and so they had their own series, which I believe is a go ahead for a second season on it, and that's a lot of fun. So it's these kind of odd group of clone troopers that are all kind of dysfunctional, maybe is the word, but they're all a little different from the typical ones, and so they kind of find themselves on a quest, with the first episode of their show being the event of Order 66. So that's always a good time to watch Star Wars. Then I also something that I had kind of on the back burner for quite a while is I started watching Full Metal Panic: Invisible Victory, which is the 4th season of Full Metal Panic. And I gotta say, like, this show hooked me instantly. It's it obviously picks up after the events of the second barrage, which is season 3. And it is more of the kind of serious tone that we kind of had from that one. Basically, without spoiling too much, one of the main players that we saw at the end of that 3rd season is front and center as our antagonist, and the forces of Mithril, who are kind of our heroes, the mercenary force that we kind of follow, are basically besieged in the first kind of opening act, and it's the animation, like the visual aesthetic, is still very much like it was back in, that show came out like in the early 2000s, like maybe 06, I think 08, something like that. And so to see that same kind of style carry through is great, but you can definitely see that jump in animation quality, specifically with the mechs. They have much more fluid movements. They're much more articulated, and so it kind of walks that fine line of a real robot show. They're you can kind of think of them like a Pat Labor type mech, and that it's just a little bit more mobile. But they have weapons like machine guns and shotguns and things like that. And so I'm just about done with it. I've at the tail end of the kind of second story arc in it, and I'm just hooked. This is a really fun show, and I will say the English cast, they slipped right back into these roles after all these years. It was really impressive.
So it's the same cast as before too. That's cool.
Yep, same cast. I think there was a little bit of changeover. I think unfortunately I think there had been some deaths of that original cast, just from some of the older members of the cast. But everyone else is there and giving it their all. Special shout out to the voice actor behind Sosuke Sagara. He is great at that kind of low emotion level, but at certain moments he kind of is able to pull it out, and it does so in a great way. So I'll stop gushing about that show. It's a lot of fun. Go check it out, especially if you enjoyed the first entries of the series. I believe it's kind of the finale of the whole franchise. So.
Oh, really?
Possibly. I know it was a bunch of light novels, but
it's because they're following the manga. That's what it is, or is it? You think that they're
they were short stories,
yeah.
And it's that light novels are kind of that like a novella. So they're a little bit longer than a short story, but they're not quite as long as a novel.
But they're not doing their own original stuff for the anime. They're just following these books.
I believe they're just following the books.
But I see.
It's good stuff. So.
Well, there you go. Anything else?
No, I think that's all from me. So Pat, anything to add yourself?
No.
I would like to say I have stuff to add, but I don't either. My time has been taken up by preparing for Halloween, so yeah.
Yeah.
I got this thing where when I hobby, I don't do any ComStar stuff, and then when I do ComStar stuff, I don't do any Dropship stuff. So I got to figure out what that's about.
It's a vicious cycle.
Well, I don't think there's been any new stuff on like Netflix or any of the streaming services. Any new shows mech related, so that's usually when I hit stuff up. But yeah, nothing there yet. No new video games. I did start another playing Battletech again, just because it's been a while since I played it. So I started playing that Harebrained Schemes game.
I haven't read anything new.
No. Well, I'm still reading all the Battletech books in chronological order, but that's been just going on forever since we started the show, so that's just continuing. I'm up to the FedCom Civil War, but we'll get into that later. So if anybody doesn't have any other ComStar, we'll head on to the MechBay Hanger, and we'll talk about some casting.
Now entering the MechBay Hanger.
And welcome to the MechBay Hanger. This one, we're going to, we liked the casting one so much last time, we're going to cast some more stuff. This time we're casting mech tabletop games, or board games, or non-video games. That'll be another time. Last time we did, what did we do last time? Anime.
We did anime movies, yeah.
I think it was anime movies, yeah.
What was our restrictions on this, Rob?
Restrictions? There was no restrictions. I don't really care.
Well, you gave us some ground rules.
Well, ground rules were just pick some stuff and choose some people. I didn't even care if there's that many mechs in it. I have one that has a few mechs, but not as much. But
Rob runs a very tight ship.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't matter that much. It's just for funsies. I just wanted to be clear that we're talking tabletop games. We didn't want to view video games yet. We'll do that eventually. Because I'm sure there's quite a few video games that we could think of.
Oh, there's a ton. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll start. Each of us will go round robin style. We'll each do our one group, and then we'll go to the next person. And we'll start with Brian. I don't think we started with you yet, have we? Maybe we did. It doesn't matter.
Who knows? So, even though I was just talking quite a bit, I think, so as Rob was coyly saying, we're doing kind of fan casts of, in this case, different tabletop games. And I came to the realization I don't have as many tabletop games that are mech related, at least ones that have like specific characters. I won't lie, I thought of like my 5 Parsecs from Home, which is like, a little cast of characters, but they're all like characters in my own mind, and so they wouldn't mean anything to anybody else. But I do still have a couple things that I managed to pull out. And so I'll start with Imperial Assault, which is a Star Wars dungeon crawler kind of game.
Oh, yeah.
Which has mechs because the AT-ST is one of the first bosses.
Precedent has been set for having mechs. That Star Wars has mechs, so.
Star Wars has mechs. And so just we just kind of grabbed a quick 3 characters off of this. These are some of the player characters that are heroes of our story. And so the first one is Jin Odan. She is. I thought it was going to be Han Solo, and it's going to be. Yeah.
I'm going to cast Aaron. What's his name?
I'm going to cast Mark Hamill as Han Solo.
Yeah, that's right.
That would be fun. But no, so of the characters that come out of the game box, because they have names, I went with that. Names that don't have voices yet.
There you go.
And so Jin Odan is one of the female characters you get out of the core box set. She's kind of decked out in typically kind of the orange flight suits, carries a pistol and whatnot. And I thought Grace Park would be a great role for her. Grace was in Battlestar Galactica as the new Boomer.
She's my ex-wife. She's my ex-wife.
Future ex-wife.
Pat's ex-wife.
Yeah.
Past future ex-wife. That's interesting. Well, that show played fast and loose with time as it was anyway. She's also on Hawaii Five-0, I believe.
She was. She was one of the Asian actors to quit on protest.
Yeah. Anyway,
Nice.
I think she would be a fun lead character there as Jin. Next up was Fen Cygnus, who this guy looks like a rough and tumble trooper, and I thought, you know what, that'd be a perfect role for Chris Pine, because why not? Chris Pine is great.
I like Chris Pine.
He's fun. He's one of the good Chris's. There are quite a few good Chris's.
Yeah, I think all Chris's are good, aren't they? Isn't that the rule?
They should be, if not. All right. And so the last character I grabbed out of the box was the Wookiee Garkan. Garkan. And I thought, you know what? D. Bradley Baker would be great for this role. For those that don't know, D. Bradley Baker voices every single clone trooper in Star Wars Clone Wars, and all the animals too. He's the voice of all the animals in the Avatar series, in almost any cartoon show you've ever seen in the last 20, 30 years.
He's the voice of reason.
Yeah, he's a little typecast, but that's because he can do such a crazy variety of creatures. He's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's my start here to kind of get us rolling, and then I'll throw it on over to Pat.
Oh. All right, so I knew we were going to be doing this, and I wanted to pick games that I knew one of us would not do, because one of my things is I try not to duplicate. I don't like to do that.
That's fair.
So I picked, because I also like the game and I like the company, and it's fairly brand new, I chose Redline, the card game. The Titan card game. It has some characters in there. It's still a brand new game, so other than pilots, the 2 main big characters are the 2 generals for the 2 factions. On one side, you got General Camila Brand, who I picked is Rosa Salazar. If you don't know who Rosa Salazar is, she was basically the gal that they modeled Alita Battle Angel on.
Oh, nice.
Well, she actually played her. It was all motion capped, and they just made her eyes bigger, and it's pretty crazy.
And she's been in a handful of other movies that I've never actually seen, but her character and the way she looked kind of fit the Camilla brand look in the card game. So when I saw the card, I went to Rosa Salazar. And then the other side is the General Valia Soroba. And for that, I chose Katie Sackhoff because I just think that she'd be a very good little battle-hardened, rebellious general.
That's a good role for Katie Sackhoff.
But as we get more expansions and everything, we'll get more characters and we can add more to Redline. But as far as Redline is concerned, those are pretty much the two that I chose for that game. Rob, where'd you go?
I will start with the classic game that just ended. They actually just announced that it's no longer being made. It's Dust by Paolo Parente. It's pretty much Weird War II. It's mechs in World War II.
Dust.
It's the aliens came down and gave these power, and then they were able to build these mechs. I love the aesthetic of it, and Paolo Parente is an amazing artist. He's really known for his cheesecake, plain nose art kind of style, but he's done some really cool characters. And the most famous one he did is Rosie. It's based on Rosie the Riveter, but it's like a steampunk version of her, kind of and I thought Margot Robbie would be perfect for her. Yeah, she could play that. What is it called? It's that music that's 50s. Pat, what's the music that's
swing?
No, the one that's new music, but it's based on 50s music. I can't remember what to call it. Anyways, I always think of things and then I can never remember what they are, and then it just goes nowhere.
Oh, anyway. You mean the retro jukebox guys?
Yeah, I'm sure the people are streaming it.
Postmodern jukebox.
Yeah, postmodern jukebox.
Anyways, so
there's some good songs.
Margot Robbie looks pretty cool. I think she would be perfect for that role. Then there's the villain, who's Sigrid von Thaler. She's the classic Ice Queen Nazi, and with short cropped hair. And I think Charliez Theron would be perfect because
Charliez
she can play that role, I think, pretty good. So I chose her for that. And I would like to see her in a leather outfit. So, And last is Bazooka Joe. He's the classic GI. He has a handheld bazooka, I think it is technically, and he's a little hardened warrior. And I want to see Thomas Jane. I think I always cast him in something. So Thomas Jane is my Bazooka Joe, and that's Dust.
Good old Thomas Jane.
Hopefully all the miniatures I never bought from Dust are going to be on sale soon, so I can buy them now that the game doesn't exist anymore. So, Pat,
Thomas Jane
Ryan,
is right at home in that.
Yeah, I think he was in that Mutant Chronicles movie. It's a very similar kind of look. Mutant Chronicles. I should have done that game. Anyways. Brian, what's your next one?
Okay, well, I do happen to have a lot of stuff in the Warpath universe, one of which is the board game Star Saga. And so to kind of expand on that also has a cast of characters. And so I thought one would be fun. It was so there's a kind of hardened trooper lady that is one of our mercenary members named Erica Dolinsky. I thought Felicity Jones would be a good match for her. Not just because I painted my Dolinsky to match Jyn Erso from Rogue One, but also that reason. I think she really fits into that role really well. Then there is one of the villains in the main board game is this kind of mad scientist looking guy from the Maison Labs. His name is Dr. Coiner, and I thought, why not Alfred Molina? Because he's already playing Doc Ock this is pretty much the next stage for that. And then so the last one is there's a character named Wrath, who's basically this kind of silent ninja with a deadly sword. And you know what? Mark Dacascos needs more roles like that. For those that don't know, Mark is he's been in a lot of stuff. He's a great martial artist. Probably most notably in recent films, he was in John Wick 3 as kind of that main assassin tracking him down. So he's a really fun guy, and I thought, as kind of lame as it is that he'd be playing a character that doesn't talk much or at all, I thought he'd embody that role really well. So how about I swing it back to Pat?
Me. So my second one goes to Cav. I still like Cav. While Cav does not have a lot of picks and everything, but I wanted to give Cav a little bit of homage because they did spend a lot of time, and they do have a kind of a nice history on the history. I guess the universe itself, which is one of the things we talk about. There's a nice narrative that allows you to flesh the game out in your mind. It makes it kind of more enjoyable to play. So I focused mainly on just two factions, the Terran faction and the Rock faction, because of in that history that they're locked in an over 100-year war. And I think at the beginning of the game, or where the game starts, is where they're kind of like a Klingon Federation uneasy truce going on along their borders. So I thought that would make, if there was to be a movie for that, they would make a nice little virtual amount of stories that you could tell on border skirmishes and things like that. So for the Rack, I just kind of went with the two leaders. In Cav, the leader of the whole race is called the Karak. And I chose Lance Legault because he's played a lot of Klingons before in Star Trek, and he's got that really rough, gravelly voice that makes me think angry alien leader.
I will say he's dead, but that's okay.
Yeah. Rob just likes to point out that I casted the dead guy, but I casted him in spirit.
In spirit.
It's all right. We didn't put any rules on any of this stuff, so it's all good. You can cast dead people. We're not making these movies, so it doesn't matter.
Why aren't we making these movies?
We don't have money.
Because we don't have money.
Skill.
I don't understand why aren't we making these movies.
If you would like us to make these movies, send us a lot of money.
All right. So, and then the commander-in-chief, or the main general for the Rock Army, is called I forget. I can't even. I'm just guessing. Is Decorak, and I chose the guy who's played many an alien in every movie. I don't think he's ever played in a movie where his face is normal. I chose Doug Jones.
Nice.
I think he just does very well with everything he does as far as a non-human character. I think it'd be really good to use him as a non-human general.
So we're also getting Guillermo to direct this, right?
Yes. I mean, why wouldn't he? I mean, for God's sakes, just look at the veritable amount of ideas we're handing them.
Right?
I feel like this is going out for free. That we're missing out on money here, and we're gonna be the guys known down in history as the guys who gave away $1 million ideas.
Right.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So on the human side, the Terran faction in Cav is pretty much everyday Terran, So it was pretty easy to cast these guys. I went for a certain look when I cast these guys. Then for the president of the Terran forces, President Sabatini, I went Stanley Tucci. He looks like a very what do you want to call it? Bureaucratical president.
Oh yeah.
And then for the main commander of the Terran forces is a guy called General Ryan, and I went with Brad Pitt on that one actually, because if you ever watched that movie War Machine, I picture that Brad Pitt as General Ryan.
Okay.
I haven't seen the movie, but he looks a lot different than he normally does in that movie.
Yeah.
He's a lot more clean cut, which is unusual for Brad Pitt. But...
I mean, I was thinking at first the Fury Brad Pitt, but then I was like, no, that's Trooper Brad Pitt. I'm looking for leader Brad
General.
Pitt. General.
Yeah, you wouldn't get a general looking all disheveled like he does in Fury, for sure.
Yeah. But the attitude works there too, so.
Yeah.
But just not the look.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, what'd you get for number 2?
My number 2 is obviously Battletech. There's so much you could like literally do a full casting on many different eras of Battletech, but I chose, since I'm currently reading it, like I said before, the FedCom Civil War. So it's an older Katrina Steiner, an older Victor Davion, and I also chose Morgan Kell because he's a elder statesman, and I wanted some older actors. But for Katrina Steiner, the villain of the piece, I think I went with the most villainous female lead I could think of, which was Lena Headey from, obviously, Cersei from Game of Thrones, but she was also Mama from Dread, and she plays a good villain. And I think she could play the really sweet, but then like crazy also. I think she could play that. And so
she was also the wife of what's his face. I think that would kind of work for that too.
Leonidas.
Yeah, Leonidas.
Yep. Yeah. So I think she could work as multifaceted, because she acts all nice, but she kills her mother, she kills her brother. She's pretty evil. So spoilers.
She's a Steiner. You do what you got to do.
Well, she's the evil Steiner. All the other Steiners are pretty honorable. And for Victor Davion, the returning hero who kicked the clan's ass, we got someone who I think, and also he's known to be short, which Victor Davion, he always gets made for being short. So I chose Leonardo DiCaprio because he can play his real height, and I think he could do the gravitas of the returning hero who has to deal with his evil sister, who's taken over his realm. And I think the unwilling, he doesn't want to do it, but he realizes he can't let his sister run this place because she's going to run into the ground. So.
Would this be the Revenant, Leonardo DiCaprio?
No, he's clean shaven once again because he was at war for 5 years or something to fight the clans. But Leo could do it. I think he's got the gravitas, like I say. And then for Morgan Kell, he's the leader of the Kell Hounds, the mercenary group who's kind of stuck in the middle because they're loyal to the Steiners, but also realize that Katrina's a nut job. So I think I chose David Strathairn. You would know him better as the Expanse. He's the captain of the what's it called? What are those guys called? The guys with the asteroid people.
I've actually never seen
Belters?
the show.
The Belters. He's the captain of the Belters, the old guy who's
the guy that got flushed out of the airlock.
Oh, spoilers. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm okay guessing that everyone gets flushed out of the airlock.
But there's a ton of people that get flushed out of the airlock.
But anyways, yes, he's a great actor, and I think he could play Morgan Kell pretty good. He also looks the part. He's got that disheveled look, and yes, that's who I picked. So that was my Battletech. Back to Brian for the last one, I think, aren't we?
Yeah. And so, once again, in the Warpath universe, because that's where I spend all my time, in Deadzone, we have a number of living legends. So these are named characters that I thought would be fitting if there was ever a Warpath movie made that these characters might be in. So I thought there's a rebel known as the Rin Nomad. Hund is his name. And I thought, you know what? That sounds like a Jean Reno role if I've ever heard one. Channeling his inner professional and hunting down some Godzilla lizard raptor things. Jean Reno has been a lot of stuff. He's really fun. And I thought he'd be really fitting into that role of like a bounty hunter that's a little bit more grizzled and nomadic. And And then we also have there's a within Warpath there's a mutant plague that is infesting the galaxy, and there's a specific character who is kind of walking that line between sanity and insanity, I guess. Dr. Simmons. She is a really fascinating character within the universe, in that she's was infected by the plague virus and has started mutating, but she managed to retain a number of her faculties, and there were hints that she may have even been kind of working on fighting back in a way against the plague or weaponizing it for herself. Anyway, that sounds like a great role for Mila Jovovich. After going through pretty much, the plague infestation that was the Resident Evil movies, I think this would be a great next step for her. It's practically the same at that point. So
it's just, what if she had lost?
Yeah. And then just for fun, there in Warpath there is a space or a race of giant space rats known as the Veermen, and among them is a renowned hacker named Hacker Halftail, and I thought Sam Riegel would voice that rat.
From
you may know him from Critical Role, and a whole mess of anime and stuff like that. He's a hoot and just is totally down to say absurd things and yell at the top of his lungs. So I think that would be a fun, eccentric role for him that he would just gobble up. And funny. So I'll throw it on over to Pat.
All right. For my last one, I went to another one of my favorite games that doesn't get played a lot, Giant Killer Robots by Weta Workshop. This game allows you, you have to pick a pilot for your mech, and so those are the characters I chose. I think you get 8 pilots you can choose from.
In the base game, yeah.
In the base game, yeah. There's 2 extras you can buy in an expansion. But for one of the pilots I picked, his name is Jae Pak. He's an Asian pilot, and with him, and these cards, they have the pictures, so I didn't try. I went with someone that I think would look like a cartoon version of what they drew, or would
they're like even more cartoony than the drawing.
The opposite. I meant to say. I went with a more realistic version of what the cartoon was drawn as.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. So for Jae Pak, I went with Simu Liu from of recent fame, Shang-Chi.
Oh, nice.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah. So, and then the next pilot I chose was Isabel Izzy Torres. In her card, she's kind of looks like a little punk rock girl. And so I went with Ellie Filmster, who most people don't know. It was a Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yeah, I never knew her name.
Ah.
From basically the Deadpools. Was she in any of the X-Men? She didn't get.
She didn't get in the mainstay X-Men.
No, she was in both Deadpool movies.
Yeah.
And then
specifically because they could get her really cheap because they weren't going to have her in the other X-Men movies.
Very, very much true. And then for my last character, I took Isaac Ike Jones. And ironically, his card looks like the Clone Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi, so I just went and took Ewan McGregor.
Nice and easy.
It just screams Ewan McGregor when you look at it.
Nice.
But those are my 3 pilots I picked for GKR.
Nice.
And you know what the thing? If there's going to be a movie, I think GKR would be the movie because Weta Workshop would be the one to put it together.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, that'd be a fun movie. I wish someone like what's his name, Jones, David Bowie's son, or the guy who did District 9. One of those 2 guys making that movie would be amazing.
Oh yeah.
Duncan Jones. And who made District 9? I forget. The South African guy. Anyways, both of them have worked with Weta, and either of those guys making that movie would be very cool.
Mhm.
Is it the same guy that played Murdoch in the A-Team? The remake A-Team?
No, he was in the movie, but he...
Yeah, that actor was in the movie, yeah.
Okay, but that's not the director you're thinking of? Because he's
not a director. He's
South African, though. That's why I thought.
Yeah. But he was in District 9. He didn't direct it, yeah. I can't remember his name. Once again, please, in the comments, tell us.
Oh, yeah, he's got... look it up right now, because he's also like in Hardcore Henry. It's Sharlto Copley.
Yeah, that's the actor. You looked up the actor, not the actual director. Anyways, doesn't matter.
I want to look up him.
Pat, that was it, right? So my turn?
That was it. Yeah.
Last one. I chose Deadzone also. And I was like, oh, Brian chose Deadzone. That sucks. We're going to have a crossover.
I chose the Warpath universe.
But you chose Deadzone, but you didn't choose any of the characters I chose, so it's good. I was thinking this movie would be a kind of a sergeant in the enforcers finding out about a corrupt person. It's actually covers over in Starsocket too. Actually, finds out about a corrupt enforcer who's causing trouble and has to team up with a plucky young GCPS lieutenant major. So it's Sergeant Howlett going with Lieutenant Major Lauren Chard fighting Monarch, who is the evil peacekeeper.
The Monarch!
But the Monarch in this case is a female peacekeeper. For her, I chose Gwendolyn Christie because you want somebody imposing, and she's pretty imposing. Mm-hmm. And I think she'd be a good... she's a good actress, but she also would have the right build to be a towering peacekeeper. And for Lieutenant Major Lauren Chard, I chose the new hotness because she is really funny. Is Florence Pugh from Black Widow and many other movies, but she's a character, so she could add some charm and humor to the movie. And lastly, for Sergeant Howlett, you want a grizzled old veteran who just happens to have Wolverine claws. So who do you cast? You cast Hugh Jackman. So Hugh Jackman as Sergeant Howlett. The second time he'll be playing someone named Sergeant Howlett, because in Wolverine he was Sergeant Howlett in World War II. So yes, I think that would be a fun movie.
You just imagine like Wolverine inside an Iron Man suit, and that's what Howlett is.
Pretty much, yeah. That's exactly what he is. So, that was our casting. I always find it fun. You can go on to the link here to our Podbean page. It'll have all the pictures of the characters and the actors next to them, so you can agree or disagree. If you have your own suggestions, please do post wherever we post this, on Facebook or even in Podbean or on Twitter or in your own homes. I don't know. Make a little what do they call it? A dream board with all your own castings.
You can tag the wall.
Yep.
I was
high school.
I was just thinking, like, you could really play a fun, like, 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon with this cast here, because I know we had a bunch of Battlestar cast members, and I think we got some fun crossovers. So figure out what the connections are between all these characters, and you never know.
You never know. That's about it. We'll be back with the ExFil, and we'll get the hell out of here.
Let's ExFil out of here.
And this is the ExFil. As I was just saying, fun times. We're getting out of here, but we like to give some plugs. Please do go listen to Deadzone the podcast with Brian and Rick, our friend of the show.
Woohoo!
Deadzone the podcast.
Deadzone the podcast.
Yep, they've been keeping
previous show Rob.
I don't know who that is. And other than that, we also Pat and I, with our friend Jack, are doing a new YouTube channel called Dragon's Tome. And we're going through every single issue of Dragon Magazine from the beginning, chronologically, from 1976, all 400 and something issues, hopefully. By the end, we've done 4 so far, so we're 1/100th of the way there, if that makes us feel any better.
We're like almost at the end.
Yeah,
of the beginning.
Needless to say, we don't take it too seriously. We do make fun of it a lot, especially the 70s stuff, because it's crazy. And
some of it's bad. Some of it is bad.
Some of it's like precursors to stuff that you know and love later in the 80s. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. There's some of it bad. There's some nostalgic stuff there that we like to talk about, and there's just some stuff we like to make fun of because it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Plus, eventually we'll talk about the ads that we see. Like these ones, so far, this is early on. This is like, 2 years after D&D was invented, so it's a lot of miniatures and other supplements for D&D. This is like before Redbox D&D. This is early
we're talking
stuff.
pamphlet. This is pamphlet D&D.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
it's pretty fun. It's fun seeing the early times. Plus, it's also fun to see that even back then people were bitching and complaining. So it's nice to see that the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's kind of like a warm blanket.
The one thing that hasn't changed is the complaining of gamers.
Yeah, and you don't need the internet for that. It seems all you need is a letters page in Dragon Magazine. But
pen and paper. That's all you need. All you need is an outlet.
Yep.
So it's fun times. We talk about that. So if you're interested in D&D in any way, and Dragon Magazine specifically, it's not just D&D, but early on it is... there's been some weird things that they talk about where, like, I never knew this existed, but they treated it like it's the next coming of something. So it's kind of funny to see a historical context to some of this stuff. So just go to YouTube. We'll have the link in the show notes once again, but you could also just search for Dragon's Tome, Tome, and you'll find it. So there you go. Other than that, you can go follow us on Facebook, Twitter. Where else are we? We're also on Discord, which you don't go that much, but it's there. There's a little bit of community happening there. If those are the hardcore fans are on Discord.
That's true.
Right.
And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, or you can also email us at mobilearmorradio@gmail.com. So there you go. Until next time. It's going to be Christmas. Jeez, it's coming up quick. I've been Rob.
I've been Brian.
And I've been Chopper.
There you go. And happy Thanksgiving for you heathen Americans.
Yes. Happy Turkey Day.
Happy Turkey Day.
It's the end of this month, but it's coming up quick. Bye-bye.
Right.
See you later.
This has been Mobile Armor Radio. Join our Facebook group by searching for Mobile Armor Radio. Find us on Twitter @MArmorRadio. Find us on iTunes and visit our website, mobilearmorradio.podbean.com. Join us on the first of every month for more mecha discussion.